The PNM Women's League is wrong about Dr. Winford James, an opinion by Professor Wall Street. The People's National Movement, PNM Women's League, has launched a vehement attack on Dr. Winford James for his article, Rowley Going but Not Gone. But their response reveals a glaring inconsistency in their stance and priorities. The defense of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, while dismissing James's criticisms, is not only flawed but also hypocritical, given their silence on other significant controversies within the party. Inconsistent advocacy. The Women's League claims to stand for unity and democracy within the PNM, yet they were conspicuously silent when Senator Le Zamali-Sin was unceremoniously fired by Dr. Rowley. Le Zamali-Sin's dismissal raised questions about leadership accountability and internal party dynamics, yet the Women's League offered no defense for her or critique of the process. Their selective outrage undermines their credibility as defenders of the party's values. Similarly, when Stuart Young, a senior PNM official, referred to some party members as pothounds and termites, the Women's League again remained mute. Such inflammatory language aimed at members of their own party directly contradicts their stated commitment to party unity and respect. This double standard calls into question their motivation in targeting Dr. James, while ignoring internal behavior that is far more divisive. Selective advocacy for women's rights. The Women's League, which purports to champion respect and dignity within the party, has been conspicuously absent when female members of the United National Congress, UNC, were subjected to disparaging remarks by the Stuart Young's infamous comment accusing opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar and other UNC women of running to the bathroom to Zami was not only degrading but also unbecoming of a national leader. Such a statement trivializes political discourse and perpetuates harmful stereotypes about women in leadership. Yet, the Women's League remains silent, failing to condemn Young's remarks or defend the dignity of women in politics, regardless of party affiliation. This glaring inconsistency undermines their credibility as advocates for respect and unity, especially when they choose to attack Dr. James for expressing valid criticisms. Dr. James' valid criticisms. Dr. James's article offered a measured critique of Dr. Rowley's leadership, particularly on issues such as Tobago's autonomy and the succession process within the PNM. The Women's League dismissed his observations as baseless, yet James accurately highlighted long-standing frustrations with Rowley's approach to governance. For instance, the failure to secure meaningful autonomy for Tobago cannot be brushed aside as merely a divided parliament. Leadership involves building consensus, and Rowley's inability to achieve this, despite being the alpha politician, as the League describes, reflects poorly on his tenure. The Women's League's defense fails to address the substantive issues raised by James, choosing instead to attack his character and political history. Deflecting criticism with personal attacks. The League's attempt to discredit James by pointing to his failed political bid and loss of a deposit is both irrelevant and unbecoming. Political commentary should be judged on its merits, not the commentator's electoral history. Such ad hominem attacks suggest an inability to engage with James's arguments and undermine the League's position. Moreover, the assertion that James' criticisms are isolated ignores the reality of growing dissent within the party. The critiques from Jennifer Baptiste Primus, Robert LaHunt, and Mariano Brown, while dismissed as lacking collective weight, reflect broader discontent with Rowley's leadership style and decision-making. The League's refusal to acknowledge this discontent only further alienates those who have genuine concerns about the party's direction. Selective defense of democracy. The Women's League touts the PNM's internal processes as a triumph of democracy, yet they fail to address concerns about transparency in Rowley's succession planning. The private parliamentary caucus that selected Stuart Young over Penelope Beckles by a narrow margin raises questions about inclusivity and representation within the party. True democracy thrives on openness and debate, not closed-door decisions that alienate key stakeholders. In conclusion, the PNM Women's League's attack on Dr. Winford James is a misguided attempt to shield Dr. Rowley's legacy from legitimate critique. Their silence on controversies like Senator Lezamali Sin's firing and Stuart Young's inflammatory remarks exposes their selective approach to defending party values. Rather than engaging in constructive dialogue, they have resorted to personal attacks and deflection. If the Women's League truly wishes to champion unity and democracy within the PNM, they must address these inconsistencies and hold all members accountable, including the Prime Minister and senior officials. Defending Rowley's legacy should not come at the expense of silencing valid criticism and ignoring internal challenges. A robust political party thrives on transparency, accountability, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, not on blind loyalty and selective outrage.